She ripped up the check with a smile. But 30 seconds later, the most powerful man in the building walked through the doors, looked at the quiet single father, and said one word that changed everyone's future forever: "Sir." If you love emotional stories filled with justice, unforgettable twists, and inspiring moments, subscribe now and become part of our family. Every news story reminds us that kindness, integrity, and courage always find their reward. Daniel Brooks had learned long ago that appearances could fool almost everyone. At 38, he was a widowed single father raising his 10-year-old daughter, Emma, after losing his wife to cancer 5 years earlier. Since then, every decision he made centered around giving Emma a stable life. He drove an old pickup truck, wore plain black t-shirts bought in bulk, and rarely spent money on himself. To strangers, he looked like an ordinary mechanic struggling to make ends meet. Few people knew he had once served as an elite military logistics officer before opening a small transportation company with only one delivery van. Through years of relentless work, honesty, and sleepless nights, that company had quietly grown into one of the country's most reliable emergency medical transport firms. A global investment group had recently purchased the business for over $120 million, leaving Daniel wealthier than he had ever imagined. Yet wealth hadn't changed him. He still packed Emma's school lunch every morning and still fixed neighbors' cars for free when they couldn't afford repairs. On that Tuesday afternoon, Daniel walked into Harrison National Bank carrying a certified $5 million check. The money was intended to establish the Emma Brooks Children's Foundation, a charity that would fund cancer treatment for families unable to pay hospital bills. His late wife had dreamed of helping children facing the same illness she couldn't survive, and Daniel intended to honor that promise. The bank lobby buzzed with activity as customers waited in line. Daniel quietly took a number and patiently waited nearly 40 minutes before approaching the executive desk. Across from him sat Senior Branch Manager Victoria Langley, a woman known for judging people before hearing them speak. The moment she noticed Daniel's faded jeans and worn boots, her expression hardened. She barely looked at the check before pushing it back across the desk. "We don't process fake checks," she said coldly. Daniel remained calm. "It's certified. You can verify it." Victoria laughed loudly enough for nearby customers to hear. "People like you always have a story." Embarrassed whispers spread across the lobby as employees exchanged smirks. Daniel simply asked her to contact the issuing bank. Instead, Victoria rolled her eyes and accused him of attempting fraud. Security guards slowly moved closer while customers pulled out phones, sensing drama. Emma, who had been quietly reading beside her father, looked up with frightened eyes. Daniel squeezed her hand and whispered that everything would be fine. Victoria suddenly grabbed the check, held it in the air, and declared that fraudsters deserved to be taught a lesson. Before Daniel could react, she tore the certified $5 million check cleanly in half, then ripped the pieces again until fragments floated onto the marble floor. Gasps echoed across the lobby. Emma burst into tears. Daniel stared silently at the shredded paper, not because of the money. The bank could replace the certified check, but because the donation ceremony scheduled at the children's hospital the next morning depended on that deposit. Victoria crossed her arms proudly, believing she had exposed the criminal. At that exact moment, the bank's front doors swung open. Every employee suddenly stood straighter as the bank's regional CEO unexpectedly entered during an unannounced inspection. He noticed the torn paper scattered everywhere, the crying little girl, the silent man standing in front of the manager's desk, and the stunned customers recording everything. Then his eyes locked onto Daniel Brooks. His face turned pale. Without hesitation, he hurried across the lobby, ignored every executive waiting to greet him, stopped directly in front of Daniel, and respectfully extended his hand. In a voice filled with genuine admiration, he said, "Good afternoon, sir." The bank lobby fell into complete silence. Victoria's confident smile disappeared instantly as every employee stared in disbelief. The regional CEO, Michael Reynolds, shook Daniel's hand with both of his and apologized before anyone else could speak. "Sir, I am deeply sorry that this happened inside one of our branches." Victoria blinked repeatedly, unable to understand what she was hearing. she nervously interrupted. Mr. Reynolds, this man tried to cash a fake check. Reynolds slowly turned toward her, his expression changing from respect to disappointment. That man, he replied firmly, is Daniel Brooks, the founder of Brooks Emergency Logistics and one of our largest incoming private banking clients. Victoria's face lost all color. Reynolds continued, Headquarters has spent 2 weeks preparing to welcome Mr. Brooks because his company's sale and charitable foundation will become one of the largest accounts our region has ever managed. Every employee looked at Daniel with new eyes. Security guards quietly stepped backward. Customers lowered their phones, shocked by the dramatic reversal. Daniel calmly explained that the $5 million deposit was never about personal wealth. It was the first donation to the Emma Brooks Children's Foundation, named after both his daughter and his late wife. The money would immediately help hundreds of children receive life-saving cancer treatment. Emma wiped away her tears as Reynolds knelt beside her and gently apologized for the pain the bank had caused. Victoria desperately tried to defend herself, claiming she had only followed procedures, but Reynolds asked a simple question that left her speechless. Which procedure requires humiliating a customer without verifying a certified check? She had no answer. Reynolds immediately suspended her pending termination and instructed another executive to begin processing an emergency replacement for the destroyed check. He personally contacted the issuing bank, and within an hour, a new certified check arrived electronically for verification before a physical replacement was couriered to the branch. Daniel never celebrated Victoria's downfall. Instead, he quietly requested that the employees who had treated him respectfully be recognized rather than focusing only on punishment. His humility impressed everyone even more than his wealth. The following morning, the hospital donation ceremony took place exactly as planned. Families filled the auditorium, many crying with gratitude as the foundation announced it would cover treatment costs for children whose parents had run out of hope. News of the bank incident spread across social media, not because a wealthy man had been insulted, but because a humble single father had remained calm when everyone else expected anger. Millions watched the security footage and praised Daniel's dignity. Harrison National Bank publicly apologized and announced mandatory customer respect training across every branch in the country. Reynolds later invited Daniel to join the bank's community advisory board, believing someone with his character could help reshape the institution's culture. Daniel accepted only on one condition: that the bank expand financial education programs for struggling single parents and small business owners. Months later, Emma asked her father why he hadn't yelled at the manager after everything she had done. Daniel smiled gently and answered, "Because real strength isn't proving someone wrong. It's giving them a chance to become better." Emma never forgot those words. Neither did the thousands of families whose lives changed because one father's kindness proved stronger than another person's prejudice. And everyone who witnessed that unforgettable day remembered the moment the powerful CEO walked into the bank, ignored every executive in the room, and respectfully addressed the quiet single dad with one simple word: "Sir?" If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Join our channel for more emotional stories filled with hope, justice, family, and unforgettable endings.